Our very own Chase McPhee. Chase, everybody.
All right, thank you. Good to be performing under stripper lights. That's cool. I'm going to keep my clothes on, but I'm here the same reason a stripper is, to disappoint my father. I like, Bison, that you wear a shirt that says nobody's bitch, but you just told us a story how you paid for your friend's dinner and you bailed him out of jail. You're everyone's bitch. That's the answer. No wonder the college here sucks at basketball. The only black person in the town is telling drunk jokes here. So, all right, give it up for the first performers of the night. Thank you guys for being here. I'm glad Wayne got my name right. I've been part of shows where they haven't got my name right. I've been introduced as Chad McPhee. I do not own enough tank tops to be named Chad. Chad is just Karen with a penis. It just doesn't work. People have been wrong about me a lot. I met a guy who was surprised to find out that I was actually LDS and a comedian because he thought being LDS meant that I had a learning disability. So, there's that. If you're thinking I might look or sound familiar, I do, because I look and sound like Napoleon Dynamite had a baby with Ray Romano. So, glad you all agree. Talk about other people's mistakes. I got a text that wasn't supposed to go to me. And that's one of my favorite things to happen, especially like if it's your someone trying to text their significant other and you get it, and you get to see what kind of creepy things your friend says about their significant other. I got a text that said, "I'm going to spirit spoon you in my sleep." I don't know what that means. It's creepy though, right? It came from my dad. Be careful who you're sending those to. So, I do come from a very stereotypical LDS family. You grow up, go on a mission, get home, get married, have kids, then, turn 25. And I broke that cycle. I was 31 before I got married, and every family party I'd go to, someone would always come up to me and be like, still not married yet, huh? It's like, yeah, well, also not divorced yet. That feels pretty good. Because divorce is kind of scary, right? Especially from the man's side of it. Because when a couple gets married, it's a really, beautiful thing. Build a life together, get a house with like a white picket fence and plate glass windows. And then they get divorced. And the man has to move out, and he doesn't have a white picket fence and plate glass windows. He has a one-bedroom apartment with a plate of glass and a window. The first time I told that joke, a lady started cheering in the front row, and she said it's because she had left her ex-husband with that life. To which I said it sounded like he got the better end of that deal. Not wrong. I also come from a very diverse family. Not like this crowd. This crowd is not diverse at all. Pretty sure if all of you were on the Titanic, all of you would have been just fine. So, not you, Bison. You're coming out of the ship. Sidebar, you're getting married soon, right? Or proposing soon?
I am.
And you're big fans of Avatar?
I have an Avatar tattoo.
Is that why your hair's like that, so you can connect your hair to hers, like in the movie?
Oh, that's the wrong Avatar. It's the last Airbender.
It's all Avatar. I don't know. It's all Avatar, man. Okay, I'll go back to making fun of my family diversity now. My perception of diversity is completely different because my stepmom is Chilean. I've got a Chilean stepbrother. My older sister married a guy who's Vietnamese. I got 2 Vietnamese nephews, and my little sister's adopted from Thailand. That makes me the minority in my own family. And you chuckle, but it's pretty messed up getting called Uncle Cracker every Christmas. I think what happened is my dad was trying to complete a diversity circle, which meant my only two options was to date a black chick or be gay. Ideally, I could just date Bison, but just kidding. I'll lay off of you in a minute. I'm sorry. I like coming from a family like that because I feel like I'm pretty culturally sound, but every now and then I can be a little bit culturally unaware. And what happens is I'll say something that I don't mean to sound bad, but it sounds terrible. I went to get my hair cut once, and the girl's really butch up top, and she's like, "How am I cutting your hair?" And I was like, "I'll have what you're having." Yeah. It's even worse when you see someone else like who's like very culturally unaware, and they're just not self-aware about how uncultured they come off. Like if you see someone who's trying to act like they're from the ghetto and they're clearly not, they're like rolling down their windows, blasting their bass to a Brad Paisley song. They're asking you questions instead of asking you questions, you know? Don't talk like Shaniqua from Compton if you're Abby from Provo. That's the point. Sometimes you see a whole city that's culturally unaware. Is anyone in here from Cedar City? Okay then. If you drive into Cedar City from the north side and the first exit you get off, there's a sign that says BLM and points to the left. Now I know that BLM means Bureau of Land Management in this particular case, but over the climate of society over the last couple of years, BLM has become much more known as Black Lives Matter. And if you look at that sign and one is to interpret it as Black Lives Matter, they will notice that that sign points directly to the county jail. None of that is a joke, by the way. That is 100% accurate. Right? Oh, people are still laughing. Keep going. That's great. Right. I lost my spot. That's cool. Who in here is on a date tonight? Woo! Are you like with boyfriends, girlfriends, or what? Or
My wife.
You're with your wife. How long have you been married?
Almost 10 years.
Oh, your warranty's expired. You're done with that one. Oh, that's good. How long did you guys date before?
That's a slightly less complicated question. 4 weeks.
4 weeks. Where did you serve your mission? Sendai, Japan. All right. And now you're at a bar. Good job.
Drink in hand.
Drink in hand. Cheers. Cheers. All right. I hated dating. I don't like it. And people ask me, if this is my first or second marriage. This is my only marriage. If it goes south, if I can't make it work with her, that's not happening. And here's the reason I don't like dating is I don't like exes. I don't like my ex, I don't like my wife's ex, and if any of you have exes out there, I hate them too. It's not always bad, right? Like sometimes a couple can break up and remain friends, but most of the time someone gets hurt. And then it's awkward, especially if one of your friends wants to, date your ex, and that's always a fun conversation to have. They come up to you and be like, "Dude, are you gonna hate me if I date your ex?" It's like, dude, if you date her, you'll hate yourself. I got dumped 15 times in the span of 2 years by the same girl. It's like going to a casino and playing 14 hands of roulette, and then on the last, and like losing all of them. And on the last one, they're like, "This one will work," and the rest of your money. Just end up sad and broke, right? 15 times over 2 years, and it was toxic. We had two speeds. It was "I love you" and "I hope you die." Like that was it. Our worst fight, one of the worst fights we ever had was whether or not I ran a red light. And this is the only fight with a woman I've ever won. Okay. I went through a light, it was yellow, it turned red halfway through the intersection, and she got mad saying I ran a red light. I said, no, I was passing, and we got in this huge thing. And her big argument was, that's running a red light, I learned about it in traffic school. My defense was, I've never had to go to traffic school. She didn't talk to me for 3 days until I apologized because I'm codependent. Here's how codependent I am. I don't even like comedy. I'm just doing it to make you guys happy. 15 times in 2 years, and that's a lot. And a lot of that's my fault, but I blame 90s television, because if you look at the 90s television, you have stuff like Zach and Kelly from Saved by the Bell broke up like every 2 seasons, and they ended up together at the end, right? Now, if that's not, there's another example, don't worry. There's Corey and Topanga from Boy Meets World. They broke up 6 different times and still got married. And you guys still debate whether or not Ross and Rachel were on a break. Like, that's the thing. And so, yeah, I kept holding on to this hope that it would happen, and it didn't happen. So all that I ended up doing is staying up late at night writing mean, like, bitter jokes in my room about my ex. Mean jokes that I won't even say on stage, except this one. I used to sit up at night hoping that my ex would marry a farmer, because she deserves to be with someone who knows how to work with a cow. It gets a lot meaner when I learned a year ago she married a farmer. I guess I won. I'm not apologizing for that one. All right. Then there's the other aspect of dating with marriage and stuff where you see a couple get married and there's a huge age gap, which age gap doesn't bother me, but if the girl's too young, it's a little concerning. I have a friend who, when he was my age in his 30s, married a girl who was almost at the time 19. She was almost 19. That's a little young, right? Like, I'm fine with the age gap, but she's just so young. And he told me that he met her online. I was like, well, of course he did. Because how else is something age meet a girl born after 9/11? Oh, buckle up. Here we go. I bet the first question he ever typed to her was, "You're not a cop, are you? LOL." He told me that when they fight, it's pretty bad, because he said it's like he's fighting with a child. And I was like, really? If something looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, and graduated high school last year like a duck, then... Let's put this in the ultimate perspective for you. Who in here remembers the Spice Girls? Yeah, his wife doesn't. That should be your number one indicator right there. If she's too young to tell you what she wants, what she really, really wants, she's too young to get married. I did the opposite thing. My wife is actually 6 years older than me, and we did meet online. We met on Ancestry.com. Think about this. When my wife graduated high school, I was still in recess, right? I remember being in elementary school, watching high school girls drive by, being like, someday. Little did I know she's driving by the elementary school going, someday. I'm almost 36, she just turned 42, and if anything, our marriage does go south, her next husband's probably 27. My next wife is Eva. I have a type. She tells me these jokes are getting old. I'm like, yeah, but so are you. Okay, before any of you think that I'm a bully or mean for making these jokes, she's earned every word of this. Exhibit A. This is a conversation we had publicly on Instagram through our chats. It's still there. If you want to go to our Instagram and look at my highlights, and you will understand that my wife has earned any figurative punch that I've thrown at her. I just stress that out. Because look, Comedians, we're damaged. We accept love with humor and insults. Just to be clear, one of my best friends is my best friend because of how mean he was to me. He told me once that he thought that I was going to die a virgin, and I told him I was married, and he said, I know. Later, he saw a picture of me and my dad fishing in Montana, and he said, even in that picture, your dad looks disappointed in you. That's a good friend, okay? I talk to him almost every day because of how funny that is. So, let me introduce you to who I married. Back in October, I was in a comedy competition with 15 comedians. I came in first place. I was very excited about it. I sent my wife a text saying that I had won. Her response, just because you came in first doesn't mean you're a winner. I didn't say anything back, to which she posted online, no clever response, funny man. I guess we know who the real comedian in the family is. So I said, I'm sorry I'm not clever enough to post other people's TikTok videos like you. She said, no, you just quote other comedians' jokes to me all day because you're not funny. And I said, and yet you've had 2 babies with me. She said, thanks for finishing this text while you're sitting on the couch instead of helping me clean the kitchen. My priority level is understood. I said, I appreciate that you did the dishes at your sister's house while our sink remains full. She said, at least my sister respects me, and unlike you, she's good at what she does because she's a winner. I said, she's a middle child, she wins nothing. Page 2. She said, someday I'm going to tell our middle child what you just said and what you think about middle children. And I said, because like all good moms, you use your children as leverage. She said, why don't you ask your mom? Oh, wait, you can't, because my mom died when I was 16. Ah. You thought I was a bully, now you think I'm Ukraine. I said, I guess that's why I married an older woman, I'm just missing mom. She said, just remember, I already had a son before you came, so you'll always come in second. I said, yeah, second to 50 years old. She said, at least I get better with age. I said, there's plenty of years to prove that theory. And then she said, I'm glad men die 10 years younger. I said, enjoy your 4 years as a widow. She said, comedians have a shorter lifespan than normal humans. Luckily for you, you're not funny. I said, I love you. She said, I love you too, with a red heart emoji. If you want to verify any word of that, go to my Instagram, click on my highlights, it's labeled text fight with wife. All right, now that we got past that. Yes, my wife had a son before I came along. I am a stepdad. People ask me all the time what it's like to be a stepdad, and the truth is, I love it, but I can be a little competitive sometimes. Like, you know, he'll say something to me, and then I have to feel like I have to fire something back, and sometimes it's probably too far. I'll go get a drink of water, come back, he's in my spot on the couch, he's like, I stole your seat. And I'm like, I stole your mommy. Oh, but he can throw the punch too. He told me he wants to be just like me when he gets older, but successful. He's a good kid. He likes to ask questions, and sometimes I don't always know the best answer to give him. he was asking me what humidity is like, and we live here. Not a lot of humidity here, so I just explained the simplest thing I could say, which is that humidity is kind of like normal. Everything's just a little bit more moist. Further in the conversation, I realized he had mixed up his words. He's actually asking me about puberty. I gave him the simplest answer I could, and I told him that puberty is kind of like normal. Everything's just a little bit more moist. I will say, when my wife and I just had our second baby together in November, and we were curious how this would work out because we have, Gavin is 14, we have our 2-year-old. We're wondering how each of them were going to react, and we brought the baby home, and my 2-year-old looked at her, smiled, and then took a swing at her. Because there's a pecking order, and he just wanted to be clear like it was prison. Gavin was great, he was happy, and I think it's because he doesn't think we notice how much longer his showers got. Anytime he's in there for 5 minutes, I pound on the door saying, "Clap your hands!" He told me he wasn't doing anything, which I understand because I was 14 as well. And when I fell out of the shower trying to make out with the cartoon hula dancer on the shower curtain, I told my dad I wasn't doing anything either. So there was that. She likes that one. All right. Yes, so my wife and I, we've been married for 4.5 years now, and we've had 2 kids together. And there's some things about pregnancy that I was not prepared for. I was not prepared for when you're announced to someone that you and your spouse are pregnant, that everyone wants to know the gender immediately, like almost to an annoying level. And what they don't realize is it's not as simple as it used to be. It used to be doctor goes in, takes a picture, you're having a boy or girl. Now you have to wait like 18 years for that kid to tell you what they're going to identify as. As it turns out, it just depends on how fast they can swim in college. Also, did you know when babies are born, they're really purple and it looks like they're not breathing? Yeah, no one told me how purple a baby was when they're born, and I panicked because it looked like my wife had an affair with a Grimace from McDonald's. A 2-year-old boy, and our daughter was just born in November, and people are asking me if I was ready for my daughter to get here, and I was like, no, I'm not ready for my daughter to get here, because she's coming into the world at a time where there is an infectious disease everywhere. It is a global pandemic, and I'm not talking about COVID-19. I'm talking about boys and men in general, because there is no bigger threat to a woman than a man. And they almost came up with a cure for it that almost eliminated interaction between men and women. It was called Xbox. Then they came up with this man repellent for women to use. It was called Twilight. Some men would still watch Twilight, but they were not a threat to women. Okay, moving on. I do like being a parent, and we take jabs at each other. But one of these days it's going to go too far, and I'm going to have to really balance my comedic brain versus my parenting brain. Because eventually the kids are going to grow up, get older, we're getting a really bad argument, and they're going to call me something horrible. They're going to call me something like an MF. At that point, do I calmly talk about it like a parent, or does my comedic brain kick in and say, well, I might be an MF, but remember, it's your end that I F. I say I'm an F because I'm from Utah, and that's how I learned to swear. And just say the first letter, for some reason it doesn't count. Because in Utah, we've invented our own way of speaking. We've decided we don't have to pronounce words the same as other people, right? Like, we have a lot of good hikes around here. No one goes hiking in the mountains. We go hiking in the mountains, right? We have a city in southern Utah spelled hurricane, but we pronounce it hurricane. And we only pronounce it hurricane if talking about that city. No one talks about the tragedy of Hurricane Katrina. We can say it right at that point. But our city is hurricane, right? And sometimes it's the whole phrase we change. We don't say, I need to go to the doctor. We say, here's some essential oils. We don't say I got married late in life. We say I disappointed my parents. We don't call it segregation. We call it BYU. Take it no one at a bar show is offended by that. Speaking of essential oils, I did get kicked out of the doTERRA essential oil sales meeting for making a joke. And I'm not going to make fun of the product. I'm just making fun of how the situation was presented to me. She told me that her husband used to struggle with low testosterone until she rubbed some oil on him, and then he was fine. She said, "Any questions?" Yep. Clearly what she's not understanding is that to men, any oil can be essential. So I raised my hand and I asked her, in front of everyone, what oil does she use if that oil lasts for more than 4 hours? And she told me if I couldn't take it seriously that I needed to leave. So I got up, took my free samples, went home and boosted my testosterone. I will say, and I'll leave you with this, I am getting old. I'm going to be 36 this year. I've gotten to that point where I drive a minivan, and that's just the direction my life's going. But I am happy about a lot of things in life, especially with my youth, that I am still young enough to be able to honestly say that I never once had to eat Wheaties out of Bruce Jenner's box. That is all my time. Thank you guys very much for coming.
Thanks, McPhee, everybody. Making us all feel well adjusted. That's our show for tonight. Next show is on May 28th. Hope to see you all again back here then. Thank you. Have a good night.